So, you have to be, one of the tips I want to give everybody is kind of like an insight I have is that you have to allow yourself to grieve or to move forward in life without having it just change your trajectory. Things happen in life and it sucks. But, you have to think of like you have a business, you have employees, you have partners, you have all these segments of your life. And when something happens, you got to take care of yourself and your family and your priorities. I've seen fellow business owners where it got too much, and everything shuts down.
Hmm.
But if you give yourself permission to take time away that you need, if you give yourself permission and empower your employees to take over for you, when stuff happens, things keep going. When I was gone, Skip and Sebastian are like checking my calendar. They're looking at all the demos coming up, and they're apologizing on my behalf for what the people I'm missing. Like, I'm sitting here just like, crap, I'm letting people down. No, Skip and Sebastian have the ball. The developer team has the ball. They're working forward. So I've also had a second mistake I've seen people do in the professional lives is that they'll hide and they'll try to compartmentalize. And so when they start dropping the ball and their teammates are like, man, Skip sucks at his job. Like, no, he's just really distracted.
Yeah.
It's two different scenarios. If I know Skip is dealing with a personal issue or, a professional issue, I can then compensate for that. Like, hey, he needs this time and I can give it to him. Versus, as men, we try to, I'm tough. I can just hide it.
Yes, absolutely.
So, anyways, I'm even trying to figure out, like, I forgot to send out the newsletter this week.
That dawn is this one of those middle of the night sort of things. And I was just drifting off to sleep last night, and I went, crap, I don't think I updated the newsletter. I was kind of tired, so I didn't think about it much. I went and drifted on off. I decided it was too late anyway. But yeah, I apologize. I missed that too.
The good news is because we run on an event schedule, I can go over to our events calendar and say, what are we supposed to talk about this week? Because I have one other thing I want to talk about this week. I'm going to get a little ahead of us here. But one is education focus, MSPs. This is my annual reminder that now is your time. Your educational institutions largely are trying to build up their grants, their summer change windows, and they're trying to plan things out.
Mm-hmm.
Be cognizant of this. This is how I was able to turn schools into $9,000 a month clients, small private schools. And so, like around March, April is when they're doing their asks of the grants. It's good to have like the roadmap there for using our tool, but now is the time to say, hey, school, when you're doing your ask, it'd be nice to have $50,000 more to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
So a school may not be able to spend month to month, but you know what they can do? They're talking to people worth $30-40 million who are wanting to dump cash off, and asking for $50,000 right now is a piece of cake for a nonprofit or a school. Because there's like, hey, we got this window coming up. We have 90 days this summer where we're going to try to get things done and build up our fall schedule. Our IT people need X dollars to upgrade our Wi-Fi, upgrade our internet, upgrade our Chromebooks. Those all go in the E-rate program, except for the Chromebooks. And if we get $50,000, we can make that into $100,000 through E-rate, and they can do their pitch.
Right.
So those of you who are in the educational industry know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Education, all of your nonprofits, don't underestimate the potential in your education and nonprofit organizations. I've worked closely with a variety of them, most recently with one, and everything's an evolution in the industries, right? And tools. And one of the big projects we worked on at the last nonprofit I was supporting was we got involved with a portal. I found a lot of similarities in this company, and they basically have a one-stop shop for grants wherever you are worldwide. And so it provides a nonprofit the ability to go in, select criteria, and ask for money. That's a short version. And so these tools are out there for all of your nonprofits and your educational entities. You need to be working with them on those things. You need to be saying, hey, you guys, you could really use this. And I think we can structure it and help them build those grants, because what happens is many times those projects will get shoehorned in to the tail end of some other grant. They would say, oh, we had this, we maybe have some extra money, we may be able to flex the grant and do this. And you get basically the crumbs, you get the leftovers. But start with this process early on, work closely with those grant writers. It is amazing. The community of Presidio, very southern area of Texas. There for, I don't know about, it's been a long time now, but there for the longest time, their Wi-Fi from their school district was so fantastic. They provided free internet to the community. All right. They could get a Cisco phone in a field guys, one of their just their facilities guys could be on the phone at the school, go, all right, I need to go get this. He gets in his truck, drives down to the store, the hardware store, to buy something. He's still on his land phone number. He's still connected to the school. Just amazing infrastructure. Presidio cannot afford that, but the grants they qualified more than paid for it.
Yeah, there is I think there is a business model in the tech industry for hiring a full-time grant writer and an E-rate specialist.
Yep.
There are so many institutions that just rely on grants, especially your nonprofits. There's a ton of cash to be had there. Absolutely. And you're not really taking advantage of anything. You're helping them get the most they can for the dollars. Right. They don't know what equipment qualifies for E-rate. That's where we have these large institutions around the United States which will help them with that. There's no reason MSP can't, but you kind of have to have enough schools to make it worth your while.
If you go that down dedicated route, but I would encourage you. I mean, even if you don't go, allocating or obtaining your own dedicated resource for that, at least reach out to your organizations, because they have people within their organizations that are specialized in that. And sometimes those people just need a little bit of information. It can be a very small amount of work that you can do up front that will have gigantic dividends later on.
Yep. And so that's the mindset I want you guys to switch around for educational institutions that maybe you guys have a couple of private schools, or maybe you completely dedicated to private schools. Some of you have a niche there. Now's the time. You should be pushing out roadmaps and proposals. That proposal tool we have, that's all the grant writers need. That's it. Absolutely. They don't need a quote. They need a proposal exactly like our tool does it. Hand it to them and say, here's what you need to do a grant. And then they will say, oh, cool. And if you can put like a little extra like text in there, it says, hey, this will apply to E-rate because it's going to help you get to the internet. Anything allows you to get to the internet, it's going to apply for E-rate, and you get that 40% discount on all that. Doesn't discount you. They still pay you. It's just the cash is going to flow through the school into you. To have that change window, be like, hey, we're going to do this in July. So then the client can say, hey, Grant, we're going to do this in July. It's going to cost $50,000. And we need this cash to pay the MSP to get this thing done for us. This is how it works. It's a different game than the CEOs of the private industry play. The superintendent and the principals have to play a different game because they're working off donations and grant dollars.
Yep.
It's also helpful to note whenever your school, your private school, has their annual fundraiser, because they all have them.
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. And giving them cool things to ask for. So usually at the end of a school fundraiser, they have a formula and they're going to ask for something big. This year, one of the big things is Oculus. Mm-hmm. Oculus has, I cannot, if someone wants to post it in chat, they can. There is an educational tool that plugs into Oculuses now for helping people have this really cool environment. But Oculuses are expensive. And this educational tool requires a subscription, and somebody's going to help them set it up. You got to make sure the wireless is capable in their schools. There's a whole bunch of things that need to be figured out. But this is the hot new item for schools in classrooms like 4th grade and up. These kids can come in and they can learn in these interactive environments as a bonus to their classroom experience.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned this, Adam, because I do think it is an overlooked item. I know in working with some of our customers, we're supporting that little nonprofit, whatever it is. They've only got 4 or 5, dedicated full-time staff and maybe a half dozen or a dozen volunteers or whatever. And so you look at them and they talk about their operational budgets and how little they have to work with. And you kind of, put them in a really small bracket, like, hey, these guys really just don't have much. What you might not realize is even those really small ones, their operational budget may be very, very tight. But if you look at their books, many times their annual expenditure is some sort of, 2, 3, 5 time multiplier of their operational budgets.
Yep.
So there may be a lot more money there than what you're giving credit for.
Change your mindset with nonprofits and you will. There's a reason why some MSPs focus on this area.
Absolutely.
There is a trick to it, and we're just telling you what the trick is. Our proposals fit right into it. This is an easy way to get large grant dollars. You could be a week or two. Actually, no, that's a lie. If you start this process, you're looking like 6 weeks, and that's like the difference between you and $100,000 service project. That's how it works.
Be prepared for a longer way. I mean, 6 weeks would be an ideal situation.
Right now,
I'm
just saying that because now is the grant window. Yeah. You might be waiting until next year.
Next year,
it's going to be quick or next year because there's always a window. Because a lot of the grants don't allow for windows all year long. They allow for them in March and October. And you can talk to your school because I guarantee you your principal has these things memorized.
Yes.
He knows. What's uncomfortable is like he's dealing with so much stuff or she's dealing with so much stuff that they aren't thinking of you when it comes to the grant proposals. They're thinking of books. They're thinking of desks. They're thinking of teachers. They're thinking of school materials and operational expenses. They don't immediately go, oh, let's buy more computers. They used to. It's just not as big of a deal now. But you can come and say, hey, if you've got a grant process, I've got a great idea for a grant for you. It's going to be about $150,000, but I can give every one of your students either Chromebooks or iPads that they can keep with them through their school system days. And it'll allow them to continually educate at home in case of another pandemic, in case of a sick child. And you just kind of pitch this out to them. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yep. That comes from your brains. You have the 10,000 solutions in your head that need to be translated into what the client needs. And that's what you're doing with the grants. You just can't think, I'm going to do it for $1,500 MRR. You have to say, I'm going to do it for $150,000 all at once.
Yeah.
That's how they work.
Yeah. But then you can start tracking that on your project roadmap and your budgets in the platform. And it may not be until next summer.
Yep.
But you get enough on there, and now you can really start looking, and for your own business, looking down the road and going, hey, next summer, not this summer, next summer, we're going to be slammed. Yep. I need to get, things lined up. I need to, start the hiring is a problem. All right. We hear that from a lot of MSPs, and if you've got a heads up months in advance, you can usually, overcome those challenges. So, there's some additional benefits there.
And that's where we use one of Skip's favorite features of the tool. If I can get over there. So when you go to the project roadmap, let's just flip over to Acme, right? Here's how you do this. You got your project sitting here. You got your project roadmap. You're saying, hey, you know what? Next summer, 2023, interesting. It goes right out to there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and say this one's budgeted. Let's go ahead and put in 2023 quarter two. Let's say quarter two. Yeah, quarter three. Sorry, summer. And you're going to do $100,000 project there. All right, done. Save. Math was weird on that one. That was weird. So anyways, you have this $100,000 project coming up next summer. So now you come over to Q1 and you say, plan that bad boy. Or you say the month, plan it, move into the monthly phase.
Yep.
And say, okay. And so then when you're coming out here and you're scrolling through your cycle, and also you see this gold pop up and you're like, oh man, I forgot. Yeah, we planned that out last year in that grant. And we are going to have, click at them. we are going to have a planning session in March for the summer. And then we see in the summer, we're going to be dropping $33,000 a month with this project, or we're going to get $150,000 all at once. I don't know. You negotiated it. You tell me. So they're going to do this. And then now you know to plan it here and drop it now. That's how this tool works for you. And it helps you plan this stuff out. You've got the proposal. It's been approved. You'll see this guy be green because it's been approved and you're ready to go forward. So plan grant-based projects. There is a ton of money there. If you want more on it, that's what I did for like 3 years, people. And then I've been working with schools for over 15 years. So please reach out, ask me questions, send me an email, or just ask your peer groups. In your peer groups, I guarantee there's got to be at least one of your MSP friends who focuses on schools, and they're going to be like, okay, so the secret's out. ISCO grants. Yes. That's how you get money out of schools. MRR, you'll squeeze out $1,500 to $2,000 a month. If you're really good, you might get to that 5 range. But on a grant, $60,000 for that. If you're really good, you got $60,000 squeezed out of them for the MRR. Let's go ahead and talk about the $100,000 projects. Let's talk about the $400,000 projects for school districts. Let's talk about those for a minute. And those are all based around, hey, you're going to do Wi-Fi at all schools in a district. So they're all on the same Wi-Fi. So they can go using Ubiquity or whatever your favorite thing is between every school. So if a kid transfers to a new school, if a teacher is subbing, whatever it is, it's the same experience. So anyways, that's my tip for this week. This is Education Week. This is the time when you really need to be focusing on this stuff. But what I want to show you guys, and I didn't warn Skip before I was going to bring this up. I'm super excited because I've been waiting for a feature in our tool set since October. So speaking of planning ahead.
Yeah.
And what I need from people, and whoever reaches out to me, I will sit down with you and we will talk this out. We have a new feature that's coming out here pretty soon called Top Tickets. This has been an uphill battle, people. Do you know how long it takes to get integrations done with ConnectWise? All the frustrations you've ever had with ConnectWise, roll them up into API calls and imagine the spaghetti monster I've been dealing with. So the whole goal is we want to be able to show tickets in a module based upon what you want to see. Now, Adam Walter and Skip Ziegler do not work in ConnectWise every day. So there are workflows that we aren't familiar with. We want this to feel natural. So like when you want to see at the top level, so this is tickets across all, actually, yes, this is tickets across all companies. What are the top tickets you want to know about? How do we filter that? What would be useful? So one of the ideas we had was a string filter, like where a ticket contains string. And Skip had a great idea. If ticket is on board X. Give us ideas. If you were sitting there with a cup of coffee, it's your first activity in the morning, you open up the single pane of glass, you want to see how many projects are coming up and see where things going, and you want to filter tickets. What tickets would you, what kind of board would you create? If you could create a dynamic board where you just flip this around, match them up to projects, what would you want to see? How would you dissect your ticket queue? Knowing that everybody's tickets and ConnectWise instance or Autotask instance is messy.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's messy, how would you filter if you had a widget like this on your dashboard? What would that look like? What would be useful to know just off the cuff? And that's what we're looking for right now. So I wanted to show you guys how it worked, because these are top tickets. These are 2 different filters and a bunch of crappy like sample things in our ConnectWise instance. What should we do? What's due in the next week? So when you're meeting with a customer, you're gonna spend about 5 minutes. We say don't talk about tickets with the client. If you want to, now you can separate 5 minutes, just like you would in an EOS meeting. 5 minutes to talk about tickets, so they can see at a glance that these tickets are being handled and that there are nothing overdue. There's nothing high priority you need to worry about. That's what this is for. This is for when you're in the meeting with the client, what do they care about? And not to focus on this for the entire meeting, but just to show them that you're on top of it.
Well, and on that, so I mean, there's a couple of options here. So if you're looking at tickets on this master home view, basically what you're doing is you're getting a peek into all of your clients. And it may not be something that you center around a client engagement on, but if you've got a ticket popping up and you go, oh, that, pertains to this project we're working on, or I just need to reach out to them or whatever, this is going to help out. It might not show up in the engagements, but you're going to have the visibility here. So there's two areas that you can use this. This master home screen is not necessarily client facing. There isn't any way to share it, but it does facilitate what's important to you. What do you want to see across all your customers?
Yeah. By most hours actuals being popped up, what do you mean by that? Like the most hours logged to it? Is that something I can pull out? Probably anything in ConnectWise. We're event partners. We can pull it out. So what does that look like? How are we doing that? What hours actually are we caring about? If the ticket has logged, like we're up to number of hours spent. So if you have a ticket, like, look, guys, we have spent about 30 hours on this ticket. It won't go away.
Yeah.
So what's the action item there? We need to kill it, break it up. We need to move it forward. That's something that we can probably pull up. Then it'd be a sort by number of hours. I will make a note of that.
And this is really good because, we unfortunately get into these cycles with customers. It's hard getting a new customer sometimes, right? So we get a customer and we like that money showing up every month. That's obviously great, but they've got these problems that just constantly drain our resources on our support desk. And if you're seeing tickets there that come up and a ton of hours getting logged into those, that's probably a good indicator. You need to jump in here and see what the issue is. Many times there's going to be an architecture or a service issue that is really a root cause. I mean, yeah. They have this issue coming up all the time because they don't have something out there, or this is constantly something that employees have to do and have troubles with because they aren't implementing, they don't have the right service in place. And so this can be a quick reminder for you of, there's that 30-hour ticket again. I really need them to get the sign off on the password management, module that we've been trying to push with, whatever that is, so that you can stop those 30-hour tickets from happening on a recurring basis.
And remember, we're looking for things here that you would discuss with your clients. You can do operational digging on your own time, and we can make these dashboards, those operational dashboards. But the idea here is, what would your what allows you to have an action item with your client?
Yeah.
So if a ticket too long, you're sitting in the meeting, you're like, oh, sorry, it took us forever to get this. Michelle was out rock climbing and she fell and broke her back, and it took her a while to get back in office, and no one picked up the ticket. I apologize. Here's some free ice cream. Or this ticket the scope is scope creeping. It's killing us, guys. We were going to replace a mouse, and it was like, if you give a mouse a cookie, like I went to do a mouse. We ended up replacing the whole computer. And then they're like, hey, while you're replacing my computer, why don't you replace Alice's, Jane's, and Timmy's? And you're like, crap, this took forever. There's a scope creep. It should have been broken up into multiple tickets. We didn't. So nice. A summary of tickets to identify where the problems areas are. Yeah, I thought about that, like having a graph or a dial of ticket by type. That's a really good idea. Figuring out like, hey, here's like looking at the budgets. We have this budget graph tool. We have this graphing tool. And the cool thing about the tool here is that we can now just use this module and say, I want to feed it these data points. That makes sense? So it's really simple to do what you're talking about there, Richard, is where I can say, trend the tickets. It might take a second because it's got to read from ConnectWise, and then go, whoa, this is what we look like. So what decision would come off of that data? Would you say, hey, looking at the one you sent, like, hey, we're spending a lot more time on laptops and network tickets than anything else. Why? And now what decisions has that allowed you to make? So what we want to keep away from is manager porn. Manager porn are data points that don't allow you to take action. You look at it, it's pretty, it's addictive, but you can't do anything. We want graphs and modules that feed your actions. Like if I knew this information, I would be able to make a better decision with my staff and my clients. That's what we want to put in our modules. Everything you see here, like what can I do to make a better decision? So I'm looking here, and at a glance, I can say I have how much cash. Oh my gosh, I have a $76,000 product that was declined. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do I focus on these things? What's coming up? I can filter down and decide where I need to focus. I know this client's really, really concerned about Wi-Fi. I can actually filter by the service that were like Wi-Fi recommendations, two-factor authentications. I can filter down and get answers to those questions, see who do I need to push this marketing on them. Yeah, so training, need to refresh laptops, need to refresh, what are you doing? So yeah, if there's a ton of tickets coming in for laptops, why? Well, the new Windows just rolled out and everybody's bitching about it. Anybody who went through the Office 2003 migration remembers when they changed into that ribbon, our tickets went through the roof. And the best advice from Microsoft was give it 90 days. That was their best advice. So we told all of our clients, give it 90 days. And that's how we resolve tickets. So this is kind of the new field. I mean, like this module here, I'm super excited about it, but I need more feedback from you guys. And this will go live once I get we've tested enough for the bugs. I don't know, Skip, if we're going to roll it out on the Monday release or if we'll wait until the following Monday. It depends on how many bugs we have in it. But I would like to get feedback from people so we can say, hey, this is how it works. This is how you get insight. We might wait until, what is that going to be? And if people want to play with it right now, we could let them play with it, but we might wait till it's going to come out on the 10th or the 17th. So our change windows are on Mondays, people, if you didn't know. So Monday midnights-ish. And we are going to roll things out. And it's, we have the service board filter and we have the string filter. And we won't see those demoed and won't be able to do the QA on them until next week. We could push this now and let people play with it. And then it would get updated next week. It would get updated on 17th. So I think we'll probably wait till the 17th just so we can do one module release and then wait for you guys to play with it and say, hey, it'd be great if you could put this in there. Awesome. This is version 1 of the top tickets tool, and we're super excited about it.
Yep.
All right. Well, we talked about schools today. We talked about the demo environment. Anything else you got today, Skip?
No. Conversations with members here of late, there are more options now in how you conduct your engagements. So I think it's a good opportunity to kind of reflect on that. Definitely don't, feel like you're locked into something. If your templates and your reports are running great, that's awesome. Keep working that, but look and see how the new dashboards are going to play into that, how it can drive conversations, sharing that client home screen in your engagement, I think is going to be really, really powerful. And that budgeting module, many of you unfortunately had to hear me give my little spiel on why I think it's great. So I'll spare y'all, but that is another live engagement tool. Bring that up with the CFO and really map that out so that you can collaborate on those budgets. That is going to get a lot more buy-in and really speed along your selling process later on.
Yep. And if you want to stop making reports and doing stuff like that, the trick that we've been telling people in our onboardings is sit with your client and say, what do they want to know? And build their home dashboard with them as a scenario and say Gary's scenario. So to Skip's oh man, I'm gonna make this last too long now. To Skip's
I was short last week. I did
No.
a short one.
Yeah. So what you do is you sit down with your client and you say, what do they want to know? Maybe they don't want to know about strategy. So let's go ahead and edit this. So say we're gonna call it, hey Steve, we're going to create a dashboard with you. What do you care about? You don't care about the strategy component. Okay, it's fine. You care a lot about your risks. You don't care about services coming up. That's okay. Let's move these guys over here. What do you really care about? Well, we care about our budget. You want to know multiple budgets, though. You want to know your asset expenditures and you want to know your project costs. Cool. Let's go ahead and add 2 budgets in. We're gonna do 2 budget tools. This one's going to be the or MRR budget, services budget, whatever you want to call it. Yep. You guys all have your different ways of selling. So I'm going to take this project budget. I'm going to move it up here. All right, we got the project roadmap. We got asset management budget. We're going to go ahead and remove this one. And we're going to add the asset management up here. So you're talking to Steve in your QBR or in your touch point. And he doesn't care about growth scores. He does care about what assets are going to be expiring this year. Cool. And he wants to see priority tickets. So we're going to put, we're going to switch this to priority tickets. Or overdue. And let's also add in their priority tickets. Now, because remember, this dashboard is shareable. All right, so we got priority tickets and overdue tickets, project roadmap, architecture. Done. We don't want our clients to focus on tickets, so we're going to make sure those get put to the bottom.
Yep.
So we see we filter this down. Asset management budget. Which assets do they care about? Let's go ahead and say they care about let's clear all and just say it's all assets. So they care about all assets coming up. How much are they going to cost? But then they care about projects. Let's go ahead and create project budget for approved projects across all assets. Let's do no asset. Oh yeah, I was going to do a no assets filter. We don't have the ability to say no assets, just show projects. Did you know that, Skip?
Yes.
You select an asset type that's null. That's the workaround. Project roadmap. Let's talk about approved projects here. So Steve cares about what projects he's approved, which ones are coming up. We're going to go ahead and sort by date. Good. We got assets coming up. Anything's depreciating by the end of the quarter. Looks great. And priority tickets. Let's just go here, doing the sort by priority. Currently open, save. And then this guy is going to be anything new. I need new tickets. Due in the next week. All right, so nothing there. So now we save the scenario called Steve's. Save. We can now share this with Steve, and he gets a copy of what he cares about across all clients at all times. Or for as long as you want to allow him to have this. Come on, Adam, learn to copy. So I just shared it with everyone. You now have a copy of Steve's dashboard and what he cares about. This is now your QBR. Screw QBRs. Throw the reports in the trash. Every time you walk in, you and Steve are going to discuss this dashboard. That's your day. You're done. You can now call him on the phone and say, hey, man, let's talk about your dashboard. Let's talk about these projects coming up. You now have everything listed out for you. There's nothing else for you to do. There's no 6 hours of preparing a report. There's no doing these large assessments every quarter. It is now done. Share this with your client. You're done. And so that is why QBR reports are dead, but your QBR meetings, your touch points still exist. So anyways, that's Skip inspired that little speech there. We've been talking about that in onboardings and on new clients, but for our existing members that are sitting here in this meeting, you need to know this. It's a huge time saver and it wows your client.
Absolutely.
All right. I won't say anything more, Skip, because we're 40 minutes.
Yep, I'm done.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Skip, for the inspiration. And next week, I'm hoping to be more organized.
See y'all later.
See ya.